So, assuming by asexual you mean the point in time where women were procreating without males, which would be scientifically noted as parthenogenesis, which if you want to Google it, don't look up when parthenogenesis, look up virgin birth specifically. There was a study on it recently. Over the last 20, 30 years, women have been reporting having virgin births, and there have been babies who have been found to have no male DNA. So basically having no fathers. This is still happening today. At that point in time, men did not exist. So I don't know if you're thinking that men always existed alongside women, because they didn't. The Y chromosome is only 300,000 years old. Since then, it's lost the majority of its genetic imprint, meaning that it has very little genetic code in it. Most of the genetics that you get are from your mother, which houses 10 times more genetic data than the Y chromosome. The Y chromosome is actually a mutation of the X. If you look at the anatomy of the Y, it's literally an X with the leg cut off, which tells you that it is not grounded, meaning that it is not whole by itself. So the masculine, or excuse me, in this case, I'm going to refer to them as males. The males are dependent on the X factor. So this is the whole concept and the paradigm that we live in behind marriage, love, womanhood, all of that being constructs in order to bind the womb into captivity. So the gender war is just the internal war against the divine feminine, because the Y is being reabsorbed into the X.
So poetic metaphysician, why don't you just go ahead and say that you hate men? Just say you don't like men, you hate men, and that is the whole reason for your biased statements that you make. Now, she goes on for like 10 minutes, repeating the same pseudoscience, bias confirmation, and just straight up lies. So evidently, she read the title of the UNC. I think it was completed in 2015. The UNC study that was done. She just read the title. She did not read the article. She definitely did not read the study itself. So just by reading the article that UNC put out about this study, then what you will see is that they weren't doing a study on virgin births at all. What they was doing a study on how virginity and pregnancy work with one another. And they admit that they did not think that their questions would bring about some of the results that they received. You see, they talked to about 7,500 to 8,000 women. And when talking to these women, they did go through questions about, did they sign virginity pledges as youth? Did they, a lot of the women reported that they were born again virgins. And so in regards to the virginity and the pregnancy, they found that those women who signed virginity pledges coming from religious families also had a lack of communication about sex and reproduction with their family members. They did, basically meaning that they didn't know shit about it. They didn't understand the science behind it. So these young girls were claiming virginity because of their virginity pledge, but yet they got pregnant. These women who claimed to be born again virgins were talking about how they had been pregnant previously, but they are now born again virgin, which is like some religious bullshit. Basically, there is no such thing as virgin births in humans. Can't happen. Doesn't happen. When you actually research parthenogenesis, you will find the resulting answer is that it does not happen in humans. It happens in reptiles. It happens in certain things like aphids and certain bees and scorpions, but it doesn't happen in humans. When it does happen to what she may want to think is parthenogenesis, it happens in a situation where the egg begins to split as if it has been fertilized. But because it is missing the Y chromosome, the egg never forms into a viable fetus. It doesn't develop a muscular skeletal system. It doesn't develop a skeletal system, and it never becomes viable, and often turns into a tantumora, which is a tumor. It turns into a tumor in the woman's body that then has to be removed. So There has never been a person who was born from virgin birth. There, if the fetus does develop more into having a few little limbs and things of that nature, but never develops a head, it's usually incredibly deformed, and it has many other problems and never comes to being born. There's not, the UN study specifically says that they never found a person who was born from a virgin birth. So what the hell is she talking about? And as far as a time frame when there was no Y chromosome, human history of Homo sapiens, Homo erectus, Homo everything else goes back to 1.66 million years ago. Guess what? In every instance, there's X and Y chromosomes every time. Now, what she's talking about the degradation of the Y chromosome is the fact that the Y chromosome and the X chromosome used to exchange a lot of DNA with each other. The Y chromosome developed SRY DNA, and it was developing and having a full exchange. Now, since the Y chromosome then stopped having the full exchange of genetic material with the X chromosome, the Y chromosomes lost their ability to correct what would be genetic deficiencies. So it is not that the Y chromosome degraded to the point where it isn't going into non-existence. It is more that the Y chromosome has developed to where it does not protect itself and later generations from genetic diseases or genetic um, deformities. So if she wants to call that degradation, which I would agree, that is a degradation, but, or I would say it's more of a mutation, not for the benefit though. It's a negative mutation. I will give you that. But as far as the Y chromosome getting to a point where it is completely out of the process, that can never happen. It has never been and never will be in order for the human species to continue to exist. What she is thinking about as far as a time frame where there were only women is something that is born of myth and legend, meaning that these are in the Greek mythologies, in the Amazonian mythologies, but it's not anything that is in reality. Fictional writings, sci-fi writings have men only, women only, uh, asexual only societies. These are things of myth and literary characterizations, but it's never been real. It has never been in reality. So unless she's saying that women are lizard people, that women are snakes, women are lizards, and women are insects, okay, you want to call yourself that? Go right on ahead. But what it is not is true. It is so far from the truth. This is just a woman who hates men. And she hates men because we have been in this patriarchal system, and this patriarchal system has been used to try to control the womb of a woman. Now, the only reason and the main reason that it's trying to control the womb of a woman is because men develop this idea of possessions. And when men develop possessions, the only person, a man can't guarantee a baby is his, but the woman can guarantee a baby is hers. So in order to control whether or not a man's possessions go to his children, he put the clamp down on a woman's womb and tried to control women. So she should really look to reinforce her points by looking at the doctrine and the history of man instead of trying to look at science. Because looking at science, she is going to fail every time, as she failed tremendously on this one, especially quoting a study that you obviously did not read. But you can look up the UNC study and see for yourself. So always remember, you have to free yourself to be yourself because your greatness is non-negotiable. Good journey, good vibrations.